Imagine a world where the UFC didn't exist, or if PFL, Bellator, ONE FC, or any major MMA organization didn't exist. So it made me wonder, right? What is a major MMA organization that people still tune in and watch, right? Obviously there's a few, right? Lesser known names and maybe from foreign countries, I suppose, right? There's one name that stands out the most. Streetbeefs, right? On YouTube, Streetbeefs, right? Everyone still tunes in to watch Streetbeefs here and there occasionally, right? So it made me wonder, right? How would UFC fighters do on Streetbeefs, right? How would they perform, right? How would certain fights do? So in this video, I'll be discussing how certain fighters, even fights, would do if they were, instead of the UFC, be slapped on a street beef video instead, right? How would they do? Will it go viral, right? Will the beef, have enough, implication that it will sell the video itself, right? Will it be a fan favorite, or would the video be a fucking doo-doo? You know what I mean? So let's get straight into it. So this is how the rankings would work. So up here at the top, we got Death Sentence. If you guys don't know, Death Sentence is one of the fan favorites, right? If I were to put UFC fighters in this category, these are, fan favorites, right? Death Sentence, fan favorites. Easy as, right? A5 Wagyu, right? If you guys don't know, A5 Wagyu, that shit is like one of the best beefs, that you can possibly eat in the entire world, right? So what do I mean by this is that the quality of beefs these motherfuckers will have, right? It's gonna be fucking crazy, right? This is like gang wars type shit, right? Anyways, the next one we got going viral, right? These motherfuckers, every single fight that they have, has a great chance of the video going viral, right? Next up we got alright views. The 30,000s, 15,000, 50,000, just the decent amount of views. And at the bottom of the podium we got no views, right? These are the type of shit, right? That if you see them in the thumbnail, you won't even click on it. You won't even bother clicking on it because, you already know how the fuck, the fight is gonna go. Anyways, let's get straight into it, right? Starting off, Sean Strickland, right? I feel like, if Sean Strickland were, to fight on Streetbeefs, right? He'll be one of the, the household names, right? In a sense, he'll be Death Sentence. Fight-wise, I don't think he's that entertaining, right? But you just want to see him fight, right? I feel like during the fight, he's going to say some fucking racist slur, he's going to say some fucking out of the line shit, right? Which will, make you fucking crack up, right? Sean Strickland, in terms of street beefs, right, is a type of fighter where, where if we were to watch him, right, we want to grab a, popcorn, some snacks, maybe some fucking ramen noodles, right? You want to enjoy that shit, right? This motherfucker is funny, right? Nate Diaz. Fuck. I don't think Nate Diaz has that, that much beefs, I can't think of an actual beef that he had other than, maybe Conor. Nah. I feel like all in all, he liked, Conor McGregor, I don't think he's, really had a beef with, anyone. Can I see him becoming one of the fan favorites? Fuck. I mean, he has a unique fighting style, 1-2, 1-2, occasional, fucking kicks. 1-2, 1-2 kicks, maybe submission if he brings them, down to the ground, right? But I don't see him being as one of the fan favorites in, street beefs, right? A5 Wagyu, does he have any serious beefs? Not really. I mean, I don't think Nate Diaz is the type to, even talk that much, right? Nate Diaz doesn't even talk unless he's like, is addressed to, you know what I mean, right? So therefore, I'm gonna put him in a going viral. I feel like he's gonna have 1 or 2 fights, that will, essentially go viral. Just, I feel like people will be intrigued by the way he fights, right? 1-2, 1-2, press 4. Like people are gonna watch that shit and right, and like, how the fuck is this motherfucker winning, right? Similar to DDP, right? I feel like Nate Diaz, DDP, right? You watch them fight and you'd be like, how the fuck is this actually working, right? If we're being honest, Nate Diaz doesn't even look like a fighter. right? He doesn't even fight like a fighter, but it fucking works, right? So I feel like Nate Diaz is, you know, one of those fighters that, you know, will go viral for a couple videos, right? You know, just leave the fucking fans wondering, like, how the fuck is this working? You know, I feel like Nate Diaz is the type, because he fights at 155 and 170, right? You know, motherfuckers at around that weight class are, you know, fairly jacked, right? I feel like Nate Diaz, you know, is gonna fight some fairly jacked guy around the same height as him, right? Because Nate Diaz doesn't have a, you know, let's be real, he doesn't have a good build, right? He doesn't even, like, you know, pack on that much muscles, right? When you see something like that, right? When you see Nate Diaz fight someone, you know, fucking jacked, right? Someone with a fucking 8-pack or some shit, right? And you're looking, right? And this motherfucking Nate Diaz is, you know, whipping their ass, right? You're like, what the fuck? You're scratching your head and shit. Like, how the fuck does this work? You know, the world is kind of fucking interesting. Little voice crack. But yeah, that's what I mean. He's going viral. Zhang Weili, right? This is gonna be a little bit hot take, right? I feel like she will be one of the fanfares, right? You don't see much, you know, women's fight in Streetbeefs, right? I feel like every single fucking time that Zhang Weili fights, you know, the whole crowd will be fucking cheering. It'll be like, yo, let's fucking go, girl, go, girl. You know, Zhang Weili, she fucking humble as fucking shit, right? Humblest. I think she was one of the most humble fucking WMMA fighters, you know, out there, right? Who doesn't want to support Zhang Weili, right? I feel like Zhang Weili is always fucking smiling, you know, she got that broken English type shit, right? You know, I can imagine, you know, after she, you know, beats up her opponent or some shit, right? She's gonna go on the mic, you know, look at the fucking camera, you know, thank everybody, be like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you for support. I swear, it's just, yeah, shit like that, right? And then she'll get the fucking whole crowd fucking, you know, clapping and shit, you know, fucking cheering her on, you know, it's just like some really fucking wholesome shit, right? Zhang Weili, you know, fan favorite, right? Everyone wants to see Zhang win. She has no beef with anyone, right? You know, she doesn't want to, you know, start a random, you know, fight just because of beef, right? She's doing this shit because she's passionate, right? She loves fighting, you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like she's gonna be one of the fanfares, right? She doesn't do this, you know, just because, you know, she has to, because, you know, someone's fucking provoking her or anything, right? She's doing this because she fucking loves it, you know? And as a fan, right? Who doesn't want to support shit like that, right? Here's an introduction to the 8'5" Wagyu, right? This motherfucker is going to... he's like the opposite. He's like the fucking midget version of Sean Strickland, right? Literally the fucking polar opposite of, you know, Sean Strickland. This motherfucker is unironically racist as fuck, right? He's trying to start fucking fights with everyone, right? I remember the press conference with Kai Kara France, you know, this motherfucker is just calling out, you know, city kickboxing, right? On enemy territory as well. This shit was in Australia, right? You got Taito Ivasa, right? Kai Kara France, Israel. You know, we got fucking Dan Hooker, you know, there in the crowd as well. You know, and this motherfucker is trying to start a beef with, you know, the whole fucking gang, right? That's why I'm putting Manel Cap in that, you know, A5 Wagyu. You know what I mean? This motherfucker would sell a beef, right? You know, if this guy were to fight, you know, Kai Kara France, right? I feel like it's gonna be up there, you know? You know, I feel like no matter who Manel Cap fights at this point, you know, it's gonna be a fucking solid beef, you know? Like his recent fight with Muhammad Makayev, right? This motherfucker is, you know, pulling, you know, Manel Cap's pants down, bro. Like, why the fuck does, you know, why the fuck did he do that? Like, I don't even know, right? Kobe Covington versus Jorge Masvidal in an A5 Wagyu, right? This is some fucking solid ass beef, right? This is some serious beef, right? I can imagine the backstory for this, right? Imagine the Streetbeefs, you know, commentators and shit explaining the backstory, right? They were once used to be best friends, you know, and then they're separated. Now these best friends are, you know, fighting each other, right? For whatever reason. Type shit, right? You know, it'll get the fucking viewers all hyped and shit, you know? It'd be like, damn, son. They were fucking best friends and shit, you know? Like, they'll like, show some old photos of them from like 5-10 years ago of, you know, of them, you know, when they're younger, you know, hugging and shit, you know, smiling together, you know, hugging each other and shit. You'd be like, they were once best friends, right? 10 years later, they're here, you know, fucking rivals and shit, you know? Right? It's like fucking Sasuke versus Naruto, you know what I mean? They were once best friends and shit, right? And then, you know, once Shippuden hits, right? You know, they became rivals. know what I mean? They started fighting each other and shit, you know? And, you know, as fans, we can, you know, we can just wonder, like, what happens after the beef, right? What happens after they settle, you know, their fight, you know, settle the score, right? Will they be friends again and shit, you know? This is a type of fight where it has to be an A5 Wagyu, right? This shit is like top of the podium type shit, right? Even in terms of UFC fights, right? I feel like Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington, you know, is up there, you know, top 3, top 2, you know, best fucking beef fights, you know, of all time, right? There's gonna be another hot take. I feel like he's gonna do alright views, right? You know, the thing is, I feel like there's other, you know, better names out there, right? I feel like Henry Cejudo, you know, the only reason why he's gonna do, you know, alright in terms of views is that, you know, he's a shit talker, right? Essentially, right? He likes to talk a lot of shit, right? And I feel like that's gonna bump him up a little bit. Is he going viral? I don't think so, right? Unless Henry Cejudo fights someone like fucking, because how tall is Henry Cejudo? He's like 5'3" or something, right? Unless he fights someone that's like 6'5" or some shit, he's definitely going viral. It's gonna be like the fucking, what is that shit called again? It's gonna be like the Leprechaun and the Goliath or some shit. Dave and Goliath. That's what they call it, you know, the Dave and Goliath type shit, you know. And you know, that shit is kind of intriguing, you know what I mean? Like, you see that shit in the thumbnail, you see someone that's like 5 foot, you know, and then you see another person, like an NBA player, fucking towering over them, you know. You kind of wonder, like, who the fuck's gonna win, you know what I mean? Like, this fucking Leprechaun or this fucking Goliath type shit. Just him fighting people around the same height as him, you know, same build and everything, you know. It gets kind of repetitive, you know what I mean? The only reason why I'm putting, you know, Henry Cejudo and the alright views is that, you know, he's an alright shit talker, you know what I mean? And then, you know, contrast, you know, Demetrius Johnson, you know, I don't think he got what it takes to, you know, I get it, you know, he does, nowadays he does like, you know, street beef breakdowns and shit, and it does quite a lot of views, right? But imagine a world where, you know, the UFC didn't exist, right? And these, you know, UFC fighters had to fight on the street beefs, right? Will they do alright? You know what I mean? Right, even in the UFC, right, Demetrius Johnson didn't sell that, you know, that many pay-per-views, right? I know there's gonna be a hot take, right, and there's gonna be a lot of people that, you know, would disagree, right? But, you know, will I think he'll do alright views, right? Occasionally, right? But in general, you know, he's a great fighter, obviously, top 3 of all time, you know. But, you know, after a while, it kind of gets repetitive, right? He's not one of those people that, you know, like, I want to see people, you know, beat Demetrius Johnson, you know, like, I feel like Demetrius Johnson is, you know, the type of person where, you know, win or lose, like, nobody, you know, really, it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? Win or lose, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't add much value to, you know, really much anything, you know. Other than that, like Henry Cejudo, you know, if he fights someone, you know, fucking 2 meters tall or some shit, right? It kind of gets you, you know, wondering, like, who the fuck's gonna win, you know, like, especially like short fighters, right? When you see short fighters fight, you know, people that are towering them, you know, it kind of makes you wonder who the fuck's gonna win, right? So other than that, you know, I don't see him, you know, fighting, I don't see him fighting anyone that will, you know, make him excel in terms of, you know, fan favorite or like A5 Wagyu, since, you know, he doesn't really, you know, start beefs that much, you know. He doesn't really, you know, Demetrius Johnson isn't, you know, a guy that really talks or like start shit, right? You know, unless he's getting like provoked or anything, you know. But other than that, he doesn't talk much, you know. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to, you know, bump him up a lot higher, you know what I mean? Next up, Chris Barnett. This motherfucker is a character, right? If you don't know Chris Barnett, bro, this motherfucker fights in heavyweight, right? And he moves like a fucking lightweight, right? He moves like Yair Rodriguez, you know what I mean? At heavyweight, right? That's fucking crazy, right? When you see shit like that on Street Beefs, right, it makes you go fucking bamboozling nuts, right? If that's even a fucking word, right? It makes you go nuts. It makes you go insane, right? You'll be like, holy shit. Like, imagine watching this shit with your friends, you know, drinking a couple beers and shit, right? You know, you put on some Street Beefs and shit, right? And you see Chris Barnett fucking pops up, right? Doing a fucking jumping, spinning heel kick. Spinning backward heel kicks, you know, like doing fucking backflips and shit, you know. Doing some fucking kung fu shit, bro, like flying. At this point, Chris Barnett can fly, bro. Motherfucker got wings, bro, right? You see shit like that, right? You're going fucking insane, right? Right? You want to support this motherfucker, right? Chris Barnett is the type of guy where, you're chilling with your friends, right? You see Chris Barnett pop up, right? You want to make a quick bet, you'll be like, yo, I bet Chris Barnett is going to win, I'll put $20 on the line, right? As a joke, right? As a fucking joke, but deep down, you're fucking serious, right? This motherfucker is a fan favorite, you know what I mean? Chris Barnett, death sentence, fan favorite, right? Bilal Muhammad, right? Hot take as well, since a lot of people like Bilal Muhammad, right? I like Bilal Muhammad too, but we gotta be realistic here, right? I think he's gonna do no views, when I put people on no views, it doesn't mean they're fucking bad fighters, obviously, right? They're fucking great, excellent fucking fighters, right? It's just like in terms of street beefs, right? What the fans want to see, right? What they do alright, and I don't think Bilal Muhammad would do, alright views or is going viral in any sense, right? So I'm putting it on the no views, right? When I mean by no views, it's not like 0 views or anything. It's like the video wouldn't do well, you know what I mean? Anyways, Tai Tuivasa. Alright, Tai Tuivasa, he's a fucking slugger, right? He's always fucking throwing haymakers and shit. Like, who the fuck cares about defense at this point, right? I think he'll do alright views, right? But here's the possibility of, being a fan favorite. So that's what I mean, like, no views, right? These motherfuckers that, they're great fighters and everything, but, in street beefs, what you want is charisma. That's ultimately what you want, If you want to be a fan favorite, you want to, you need that charisma. If you want to go viral, you want that, that fucking uniqueness to your fighting, you know what I mean? Like DDP, for example, right? Like, how the fuck is this motherfucker champion, right? Throwing fucking... Alright, you know what? It's hard to explain, but I'll give you an example, guys. Sergey Pavlovich, definitely going viral, right? And people wonder, like, what do you mean? Like, how the fuck is Sergey Pavlovich going viral on Street Beefs, right? This motherfucker is a knockout artist, right? Imagine 5 videos, right? Sergey Pavlovich versus blah, 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 right? It doesn't matter, right? And all those videos are like fucking 3 minutes long, right? You kind of fucking wonder, like, how the fuck are these videos so short, right? And you click on one of the videos, right? And turns out this motherfucker is knocking everyone out in less than like fucking 10 seconds, right? Sergey Pavlovich knocking everyone out, right? This motherfucker is going viral, right? It's gonna be like one of those fucking, like a snowball effect, you know what I mean? Like, every single fucking fights, that he has, right? Will get more views, and then more views, and more views, right? Just in terms that, people just want to see him fucking lose, or just see him, go the distance. Just see him, something new about him, right? Something new about Sergey Pavlovich, right? If he's not knocking anyone out, right, what the fuck is he doing? You know what I mean? Like, people want to see something new about Sergey, right? But it's interesting, right? Imagine knocking everyone out in like fucking 10 seconds, right? That shit is like what people want to see, right? Imagine the thumbnail, Sergey Pavlovich versus like fucking, I don't know, Yao Ming or some shit, right? Something that's towering, right? And this motherfucker goes out there and knock Yao Ming out in like fucking 10 seconds, right? People are going fucking crazy for that shit, right? Right? I got a proposal, right? Imagine this. Sergey Pavlovich on a fucking 5-fight, street beefs, winning streak, all by knockout in less than 10 seconds, right? And you get someone like a veteran, like Demetrius Johnson, right? Who's not necessarily knocking anyone out, right? Who's, not necessarily submitting anyone in, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? Occasionally submitting people, in the later rounds and shit, right? But ultimately, schooling everyone that he fights, right? Imagine that. Demetrius Johnson, right? Who's, schooling everyone that he fights, right? A veteran, right? Fighting someone like Sergey Pavlovich, right? That shit is fucking going viral. You know what I mean? Right? You see someone like Demetrius Johnson, Sergey Pavlovich in the title, doing a fucking face, in the thumbnail, sorry, doing a fucking face off, right? Who the fuck doesn't want to see that, right? That shit is going fucking viral, right? But other than that, that shit is not gonna happen, right? But that shit is not gonna happen. But the point is, if you see some shit like that, some out of fucking line, ridiculous shit like that, right? That shit is going viral, right? Next up, So we had the war against Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, right? Do I think this is A5 Wagyu beef? Oh shit. You know, I'll tell you one thing. I do think DDP versus Izzy is a A5 Wagyu type beef, right? But it's kind of like a silly beef, right? It'll be like during the fight and shit, you know. Izzy is like, you're not a real African. You're not a real South African and shit, you know, shit like that. You know? There's some goofy shit, you know what I mean? Like, and DDP will be like, what, you know, and just like shit talking him back as well, you know. It's funny because I think the beef between, you know, DDP and, you know, Izzy, you know, is a lot better than the beef that Izzy had with Alex Pereira, because in a sense, you know, I feel like Izzy and Alex Pereira really didn't have that, you know, that beef, right? I feel like Izzy was just, you know, out there trying to prove a point to the fans at least, right? That, you know, he got what it takes, you know, to beat Alex Pereira, right? Imagine, you know, on Streetbeefs, right? Alex Pereira beat Izzy twice, right? You know, Izzy's a fan favorite, right? So, you know, after that, you know, he comes back, you know, beat fucking 10 people in a row or some shit, right? And then he set out to face Alex Pereira again, right? You know, people want Izzy to win, you know, just to get that one W at least, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, in terms of street beefs, I think Izzy versus Alex Pereira, you know, has the opportunity to go viral just because of, you know, the stake of it, right? Imagine if Izzy loses 3 in a row, right? That'll be, you know, kind of sad for Izzy, right? But people are going to tune in for that shit, right? People want to see Izzy, you know, at least get that one dub, you know what I mean? Right? So I don't think it's a, you know, a strong beef, right? I don't think there's beef at all between Alex Pereira and you know, Izzy. I feel like it's just, you know, them two trying to prove a point. You know what I mean? Right? I think, you know, in the end, they both have respect for each other, right? So, you know, I can't put them A5 Wagyu if, you know, there's no beef in the first place, right? But DDP and Izzy, I feel like there's some fucking strong beef, right? There's some strong sexual tension beef type shit. I'm joking, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's one of those meme beef, you know? It's kind of really memey, you know? Like, it's kind of funny thinking about it. Like, imagine like it kind of reminds me of the fucking, what is it? The Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker fight, right? Anthony Smith was like, why are you talking about? Oh, like, why are you hurting my family or some shit? Like, along the lines of that. And Johnny Walker's like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And that's how I feel about, you know, DDP versus Izzy, right? Izzy is just like, you're not a real African, you know? Or like, stop talking about Kamaru, you know, Francis, you know, saying that we're not real Africans and shit. And DDP is just like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I never said that shit, you know? It would be like kind of one of those things, you know? I think it would be quite funny. And I think it has a potential, you know, to be, you know, A5 Wagyu. You know what I mean? Alright, Tony Ferguson. It's gonna be another hot take, but I think he's a, you know, a fan favorite, right? Minusing, you know, his 10 win streak, I'm pretty sure, right? His 10, you know, fight lightweight, you know, win streak, right? Minusing that, right? Imagine his losing streak, right? I see Tony Ferguson as death sentence in a sense, right? Just him trying to prove a point, you know. He's gonna be a fan favorite because, you know, like, you just want to see him get that dub, right? You can't end on a loss, right? Have you guys ever played, like, I don't know, CSGO, fucking League of Legends, or like some games with, you know, 50-50 high stakes, right? Like, you can't end on a loss, right? And that's how we feel about Tony Ferguson and, you know, death sentence, right? You just want to see him and keep going, you know, just keep pushing, right? You can't end on a loss, right? You, like, it's fine losing, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, it's kind of inspirational in a sense, right? If they lose, it is what it is, right? It's just another day, right? But if they win, the whole fucking crowd are going fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to see them win type shit is what I'm trying to say, right? Yoel Romero. Alright, Yoel Romero. You know, like, I feel like he's gonna go viral. You know what I mean? I feel like Yoel Romero's going viral. Not because he's a great fighter, but rather the fact that he's fucking old. You know what I mean? I think he's fighting in the PFL and he's like, what, 48 or some shit, right? Imagine putting that shit on the thumbnail, right? Obviously you want to click that shit, right? Imagine a fucking buff ass, fucking built, jacked 48-year-old fighting, you know, someone that's like 20 or something. You know what I mean? Like a veteran versus, you know, a up and coming prodigy, right? You want to see that shit, right? You know, who's better? You know, like experience or skill, right? And I feel like that, you know, for that reason, I feel like Yoel Romero, you know, it's gonna go viral. You know, I remember I saw one of these, you know, I forgot his name, right? It's one of the Streetbeefs where, you know, Asian guy, I think he's like 51 years old or some shit, is like fucking knocking people out, right? And similar to that, I feel like Yoel Romero has that, you know, that oomph, you know, he has that effect for that as well. You know, next up we got CM Punk, right? I'm just gonna put him no views, you know what I mean? Without due respect, you know, I feel like CM Punk is a great fucking wrestler, you know what I mean? WWE wrestler, right? But imagine if WWE didn't exist. Imagine if, you know, even the UFC didn't exist, right? Where would he be, right? It's just a fucking normal fucking person on the street fighting on, you know, on street beefs, right? Dana White versus Tito Ortiz. Fuck that shit. A5 Wagyu, right? This shit is like the fuck what? I've seen one of the street beefs. I think it's Trax or something. Trax versus one of his former employees, right? That's how I see this shit, right? Dana White as Trax, right? I think it's the Diamond guy or some shit versus one of his former employees, right? But it'll be funny, right? Imagine the employee beating up the owner. Because ultimately, that's how it's gonna go, right? Tito Ortiz is gonna beat up fucking Dana White's ass, right? But it'll still be funny to see, right? This, you know, this is some serious fucking beef right here. You know what I mean? All right, Conor McGregor versus Khabib. Right. Do I think it's A5 Wagyu? Bro, this is gonna be a hot take, but I don't think it's A5 Wagyu. I don't think the beef was, you know, as serious as, you know, people made it seem like it was. You know, I get it, chairs and shit were thrown into fucking buses, people are jumping over the fence and fucking beating the other people, you know, vice versa and shit, you know, like, it was out of control, you know what I mean? But do I think, you know, it was a serious beef whatsoever? Not really, honestly, right? You know, when the Conor McGregor versus Khabib fight was on, right, and we saw all those fucking beefs, you know, all those fucking antics, you know, happening right in the background, you know, in the lead up to the fight, you know, if I'm being honest, I really couldn't care less. I was more excited on the fight than the, you know, the actual beef itself, right? Because it's kind of interesting, right? Elite wrestler versus elite striker, you know, right? Or at least that's how I, you know, how I viewed it, you know what I mean? So I think it's gonna go viral, right? But in terms, you know, because Conor McGregor, right, he kind of represent, you know, the whole of Europe in a sense, right? A whole of Ireland, like a whole ass fucking nation, right? And Khabib vice versa, you know, Russia, right? It'll be like Russia versus Ireland type shit, right? And I feel like just because of that, it's gonna go viral, right? Next up, last and final, Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, right? This motherfucker. I was thinking of going viral versus A5. I'm just gonna put an A5 Wagyu, right? DC was motherfucking crying, you know. At least in Conor versus Khabib, right? No one was fucking crying, but this motherfucker DC was throwing a fucking tantrum like a fucking little kid, right? I get it, you know. You work really hard, you know, for the, you know, for the fight and shit, you know. And then, you know, all of a sudden your opponent popped for fucking PEDs, right? You know, like, that shit must have hurt, right? Because all your training is, you know, just gone to waste. So all this time fucking wasted. You get what I mean? But still, this motherfucker was crying like a fucking kid and shit, kicking the floor and shit, fucking. I feel like DC is the type, right? When he was younger, right? You know, like, imagine, like, going to, like, Walmart or some shit, or, like, Toys R Us or some shit, you know, with his parents and shit, you know, going down the toy aisle, right? He sees a toy, right? What he really loves, right? He'd be like, yo, mommy, can I have this toy, please? And she's like, no, DC, you can't have that toy. He'd be like, but please, mom, please, I promise I'll behave. Right? And she's like, no, put that shit back, right? And DC, you know, is the type to, like, drop down, you know, just fall on the floor, start fucking twitching and shit, and start shaking and crying, screaming, making a fucking big scene just so that his mom can buy the toy. I feel like that's DC, right? Oh my god. Yeah, if you guys want to see, you know, any other videos in the future, you know, just comment down in the comment section below. You know, if I missed out on anything, if there's any, you know, other beefs, you know, any other, you know, A5 Wagyus you guys would like to see, you know what I mean? You know, if you guys think there's other people that would be fan favorites, you know, if you think there's other fights that will go viral, you know, if you guys disagree with the alright views and no views, you know, just comment down in the comment section below, and then maybe I can, you know, change it up if I make a part 2, you get what I mean? Anyways, thank you guys for 30 subscribers again. You know, I really appreciate, you know, every like, comment, you know, even share that you guys, you know, do, you know. I really appreciate it, you know, and I read every single comment that you guys comment, right? I love you guys. Until then, bunk bed out. Laters.